All right, welcome everyone to Yoga Business Secrets. I'm so glad that you have joined myself, Kassandra Reinhardt, and Laura Burkhart to discuss some key topics on the business of yoga. This is a free training that we really wanted to be able to offer to as many yoga teachers as we possibly could. Laura and I have spent quite some time talking over the last couple of weeks, and a topic that has continued to come up for us is the need to share information in our careers in this field of work that we do. So before we get into the training and the nitty-gritty of what we're going to cover together, let me introduce myself and then Laura can introduce herself. So for those of you who might not know me, my name is Kassandra Reinhardt and I'm a yoga instructor based out of Ottawa, Canada. And my yoga career might be a little bit different from the traditional yoga career. I mainly teach online. So I teach online through my YouTube yoga channel called Yoga with Kassandra. It has about 45,000 subscribers or so. And then I offer online courses through my website and through affiliates and partners. So I'm really looking at the world of a yoga teaching career from the online perspective, and Laura is coming at it from a completely different angle, yet somehow we join in the middle. So Laura, you can introduce yourself.
So my name is Laura Burkhart, and I'm so glad to be collaborating with Kassandra. It's really great. And I actually came into the yoga world in a different way through first public relations. I was a public relations and administrative person for Jivamukti Yoga Center in New York. And then I started doing marketing in San Francisco for the Mind and Body Studio at the San Francisco Bay Club. Was doing my teacher training, started teaching, and then I was the yoga director for the San Francisco Bay Club. And then from there, I just went to full-time teaching. I was teaching public classes. I was still doing some hiring for the San Francisco Bay Club, but my main focus was teaching classes. I did have a retreat business for a while as well. And then in addition to teaching classes, I've done a lot with print publications and online publications, both writing and modeling for those, and also working with festivals. And so my career has more been a public career. I've done some online work, but not to the extent of Kassandra. And same thing with Kassandra. She's been teaching public classes, but we both are bringing our skills and our backgrounds together, which is exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm sure we can share this. Like, you and I started talking because I reached out to you because me, from the online perspective, felt like it was almost impossible for me to gain all the information that I needed to be able to have the experiences that you have of teaching at workshops, leading some retreats, and doing some of that really big public PR work. And it just felt like this huge mountain that I didn't know how I was possibly ever supposed to climb on my own, because maybe a lot of viewers can relate. It's kind of hard to get information from other yoga teachers. So it was just so amazing when I reached out to you and immediately you wanted to talk, and you were so free with the information that you would share with me. And I, of course, felt the same in return, whereas you then mentioned that, hey, you wanted to learn a little bit more about the online space. And I've never been someone that's been particularly guarded with the information and with the knowledge that I have, because I remember, I probably started this online journey maybe 3 years ago, almost 3 years now. And I tried very hard to get information from other people. And I wished so badly that someone would have been able to show me the way or give me some tips and tricks, and it just wasn't happening for me. I didn't find anyone who was willing to do that. So now, I figured it out on my own, but I probably could have gotten to where I am now much faster had I had someone who was willing to lend a hand or just even lend an ear. So now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, now I actually need to be the change that I wanted to see 3 years ago. So now I feel like it is part of my personal responsibility to put that information out there and just maybe change the mentality a little bit of the yoga world, where we are worried that there's not enough for everyone and worried that we have to compete with our fellow yoga teachers. And yeah, so that's why it was really nice to be able to connect with you and find someone who had the same mentality and perspective that I did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. And it was like, I felt like Kassandra was like this little godsend who came down, because I was in the same position where I was like, oh, wow, I was thinking about my future, and like, I know for my parents, they're getting more mature in life, they're getting older, and there's going to be a time when I need to go and take care of them. And so one of the main things about doing this, I was like, I need to have something going on so that if I need to go and take care of my family, I can have this whole online thing, going on. I've taught online, but not in the capacity of the way Kassandra has. And so it was really amazing. And I think it's really nice that we both can share, collaborate, as we were talking about, sharing one another's information. And also with what we're sharing now, a lot of this stuff, I wish I would have known, same thing, like years and years ago. It just would have made the path a lot smoother, and it just would made it just more direct and clear, and a little more at ease than having to almost like, it kind of, sometimes it feels like an uphill battle. Whereas if we just come together, it takes a village to come together, then it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we could be talking about yoga business secrets forever, but for the context of today and this free training that we wanted to bring to you, the viewers, there are really like 3 key things that I feel, and I know you feel are pillars, regardless of whether you want to be an online yoga instructor or you want to improve your public career as a yoga instructor. There are 3 things that I feel like we need to really deconstruct and dive deeply into. And this is information that every single yoga teacher should have and should feel very comfortable knowing. So I'll let you introduce those topics, Laura, and we can just kind of dive right into them because there's a lot to cover.
Definitely. There's a lot to cover, and we're focusing on these 3 because no matter if you want to become an online teacher or you're a public class teacher, these are 3 areas that are really important.
You need it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like as a foundation, no matter what you choose, or a private yoga teacher, these are like 3 areas. So the first topic we're going to cover is having a vision. So many of our great philosophers of our time and big teachers, they may disagree on a lot of things, but one of the things they really agree on is having a vision and also just the power of the mind. So one of those people, Earl Nightingale, says, you become what you think about most of the time. And the same thing even with Buddha. Buddha even said, what we think, we become. And biblically even says, where are my people, where they don't have a vision, they perish. So there's a really important tie to just having a vision for your life. So right now, when you think about where you want to go or what you want to become, even as a yoga teacher, what do you want? And sometimes this question's asked for 10 years away from now, 20 years away from now. And I've worked it out in those different time spans. And I found that looking at that more in a 2 to 3 year span is really nice because it's a little more tangible. And maybe like for myself, what I want to do 10 years from now is different from what I want to do 2 or 3 years from now. So beginning with that, it's thinking about as a yoga teacher, 2 to 3 years from now, do you want to teach private classes? Do you want to teach public classes? And if you teach public classes, how many times a week? How many people do you want to show up to those classes? Do you want to be an online teacher? If you're teaching on YouTube, in 2 to 3 years, how many followers do you actually want to have? Do you want to be a traveling teacher, or do you want to be someone who actually stays more put? So it's really important to first think about what kind of teacher you actually want to become. Secondly, you want to think about where do you even want to live? Do you want to live in a city? Do you want to live in the country? Do you want to live by the ocean? Do you want to live in a different country? So thinking about that and how does that make you feel? What are your surroundings like? Living situation, do you want to live in a house, a condo, an apartment? What does that look like? What are the colors? How do you want to make that apartment more your home? And just really being specific about that. And same thing with your relationships. Do you want to be married, single? 2 to 3 years from now, what are your family relationships? What do they look like? What do your friendships look like? And really being clear about that money-wise. Also, how much money do you want in your account 3 to 4 years from now? You know, as a yoga teacher, sometimes we don't think about that, but it's actually a very important topic. And so 3 to 4 years from now, how much money is in your checking account? How much money do you want in your savings account? And even outside of yoga, what hobbies do you do? What do you do in your free time? So it's important to sit down and actually write those out and take time and be very detailed with that. And then go back and see, as a yoga teacher, when you said the type of yoga teacher that you wanted to be, does that match up with your overall vision? So let's say if I said I want to be a traveling yoga teacher, but also 2 to 3 years from now, let's say I wanted to have children. Well, that doesn't really line up as well. It could, but it's going to be a little more difficult.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure everything is succinct. So when you go forth, you want to make sure that you're doing the type of teaching that you want to do, and you're living the life that you want to live at the same time. So that's our first section. And Kassandra and I were going to put together a PDF with all these questions on it so that you can have them, and you can fill this out yourself. Take time to really think about this, because it is your life, which is important.
Yeah, and if I can add like my own little 2 cents to that point, what I've noticed both in myself and in other yoga teachers around me is that there's kind of this attitude of, I'll take what I can get.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like an attitude of desperation. Like we don't even allow ourselves to say what we want or write it down on papers, because deep down we don't really think that we can reach those goals. So a yoga teacher can be someone who's very go with the flow, and that can be a wonderfully positive asset, but it's kind of a double-edged sword at the same time, because if you're really actually going to have a career that is sustainable, not a career that's hot for a couple years and then you end up having to find something else, but an actual sustainable yoga career does not happen on accidents. Mm-hmm. It's not something that you just fall into. So the go with the flow attitude can only take you so far. At some point you do need to like be in the driver's seat and dictate where you need to go next, without being discouraged or put down by a scarcity mindset, thinking that you can't allow yourself to write and call in what you want. It doesn't work that way. It's the other way around. You need to be calling in what you want in order to get it, instead of just hoping and waiting and wishing that the lifestyle that you've always wanted is going to happen to you. Like sometimes opportunities definitely do happen to us, but most of the times, like we need to be the ones that are chasing them, and we need to be the active builders, building our life and building our vision. So hopefully you guys that are watching are going to take the PDF that we give you and actually go through those exercises. This is not something that is to be rushed, like mull it over, Yeah. And Laura, like, why do you think you need to do this to be successful, in your opinion?
It's actually it's amazing. And this is like another assignment, but I've actually noticed that one, it's just being clear. It's being clear to do it. Another thing is there's something very powerful about writing things on a piece of paper, writing things down, because a lot of times when you write it down, one, you're thinking about it. And I have to say, for my own life, I've written some things down, and what I mean the 2 to 3 years from now is your ideal situation, not well, I hope this is going to happen. It's like, no, this is the ideal life I want to have, and writing this in the present tense, saying this is how much I have in my bank account, this is what is going on, and making the thing positive. And just as Kassandra, as you were saying, like not having these scarcity words, not saying, well, I have enough money. It's like, no, I have an abundance of money to do this. I have abundance of time to do this, and this. So I think it's very important, because when you have this limited viewpoint, your life is going to be very limited. Whereas if you have also a place to where you're going, and I think it's actually kind of exciting, and I've experienced this in my own life, to actually put out things that are like a little further to reach for, that I'm like, I have no idea, but this is what I'm believing. And no joke, like I did this similar assignment a year ago, one of the times, and there was something that I had said, okay, this is what I want to happen even 6 months from now, in like June, in 6 months from now, and that is the exact time it happened. And it's not like I called this place to have it happen. There's something very important about having the vision, putting your vibes out there, and letting that come back and bring back to you what it is that you want.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I've definitely had those like crazy, oh my God, almost like magical experiences where you're like, how did that happen? Like it actually happened to me today from something that I said yesterday. So yesterday I wrote down, because I journal very, very actively and on a regular basis. And this is a practice that I recommend that teachers do. If you're having a really hard time coming up with your vision and just the PDF that we've given you isn't cutting it, sometimes it'll take a while. So if you can get in the habit of journaling and writing things down, it'll be a lot easier for you to have a vision. But so anyway, I was journaling and I wrote down like what I want, you know, like best case scenario, if I could have a magic wand and wave it around and get something immediately, this is what I would want. But speaking in the present moment, like I already have it, kind of like what you were saying. And just yesterday I was saying like, I would really like to work for this specific brand. I would like to be like a representative for this brand. And just today I opened my email and someone from that company, from that brand say, hey, would you like to work with us? We really like what you've been doing. And I was like, shut up. And I told them right away. I said like, I literally just said this yesterday that I wanted to work with you. So I'm not going to get into like why I think those kinds of things happen, because the truth is I don't know. Like I don't know. I just know there's something to it, you know?
There's something to it. And then once you feel that one time, then it's like, oh, well, if it happened here, well, let's try it out here. And like literally from like opportunities that I've gotten, it's a mind shift. It's a mind shift.
Definitely.
As little as being able to do a yoga pose, being like, oh, I can't do that, to having like, I'm like, well, let me be curious about it. And then let me try it. And like, oh, actually, I actually can do this. Just something that is like a really big, like this big, huge opportunity. I'm like, okay, let me believe this is what's going to happen. And just like, as you're saying, or like put it out there, boom. It just comes right to you, you know? So it is definitely exciting. So very important.
Definitely. So number one, solidify your vision. Get really clear about it. Don't be that yoga teacher that thinks she needs to take whatever she can get, or he, of course. You know, it's okay for you to be a planner, and it's okay for you to ask for what you want and to actually build a vision for your life. It's definitely going to serve you. It's going to help you get really clear on the opportunities that you need to spend your energy on, and the ones that you know it's okay to say no to. Because I know a lot of people that have a hard time turning down opportunities because they feel like scarcity mindset again, you know, there's not enough to go around, so I need to say yes to everything that comes my way. If it doesn't align with your vision, don't try to force it. Say no, cut it and move on. And I think, yeah, definitely just cut it out. If you have a vision, it's going to be very easy for you to weigh what is a good opportunity and what is not necessarily a good opportunity for you right now. Send it along and let that opportunity go to another yoga teacher that this is in their vision. You know, like let that opportunity find the teacher that it's very much in line with. If you're not aligned with it, don't force it. You don't need to. There's plenty of opportunities to go around. There's plenty of room for everyone. Stay really clear and anchored in your vision.
Yay, wonderful. Yeah, excellent. So we'll move on to our next lovely point, because I think Kassandra and I would probably talk lots about our vision, because I love it. It's exciting stuff. I like exciting stuff. So our next thing is also, you know, as yoga teachers, is finding a purpose and why are you teaching, you know, and really knowing why is it. And even you can start by thinking, what made you come to yoga personally in the first place? Like, what brought you to a yoga studio? Why? And then what was the moment when you decided to go from whatever it was you were doing to saying, hey, I actually want to be a yoga teacher? So when you solidify those two things, you'll find out, you know, the reason, you'll solidify why it is you're doing what you're doing. And also by taking that why, that should be what fuels the passion for why it is you're teaching. You know, for example, and actually that's what's going to resonate with your students. They're going to see it like, oh, okay, that's why. So for example, let's say if someone had a spiritual void in their life, and they were searching and seeking, and then they came to yoga, and for them, they loved the chanting, you know, they loved all these things. They loved reading the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, all these different yoga sutras, and like that was fulfilling to them. And it changed their life so much that they wanted to become a yoga teacher. Well, and that teacher's class, then they would incorporate that. They should be chanting. They should be doing all these things. They should be connecting with even their languaging, like the spiritual aspects of yoga. So that, and you'll find that the students that come to your class resonate with that why. They resonate. They have a similar why. And the same thing, it could be someone, let's say there's a woman who has for years she's had issues with her image, and she was hard accepting herself. Let's say yoga was the thing that really just made her feel comfortable in her own skin. She feels great about herself. She just accepts herself right as where she is. She loves herself for who she is. And yoga was the thing that really helped her with that acceptance. Then if that is why she became a yoga teacher, then the people that are going to gravitate toward her would be probably people who have the same issues. And probably the things that she would say would be like, hey, you know what? Feel into your body, feel your skin, really connect with your heart, really connect with your core, connect with the unique being that God made you to be. Those she would add those aspects, let's say, into her teaching. So when you think about your purpose and why it is you teach is going to be very unique from why other people come to teach. So instead of trying to teach like someone else, you should just be the best you can be. And those students are the students that gravitate to you are the students that are going to need what it is that you have to offer. So that's how you stand out as a yoga teacher, is literally just by being you and offering what it is that drew you to yoga. It's like we're all these little unique snowflakes, but we all need each other, and everyone needs a little something different. And so, Kassandra, do you want to make any points about the why and purpose and things like that?
I feel like for myself personally speaking, sometimes I feel very connected to my purpose, and it flows through in the way I talk. It flows through in the way I relate to my students, and I can feel my students feeling it too, right? It's in perfect alignment, and that's when I'm at my best. That's when I'm the most effective and the most efficient yoga teacher. But I'm human, so every now and then I lose sight of my purpose, like everyone does. And I think the most powerful thing that teachers can start to really do is to notice what triggers them to fall out of alignment with their purpose. So for me, I know that as much as I love to support other yoga teachers who are online and who are doing all this cool stuff. But I've realized that the more I look specifically at the projects that they're doing, the way they're teaching their classes, the vocabulary, the language, their body language that they use, the easier it is for me to dilute my purpose and forget my true self. So every now and then I have to remind myself to kind of put my blinders on. If I'm feeling particularly vulnerable, I just have to put my blinders on and focus on me, myself, and I, and really reconnect to my purpose. And take your own medicine, do yoga, that's the best way to reconnect to your purpose, is to return to being in the seat of the student, so that you are then able to step back into the role and the seat of the teacher and communicate from a voice that is yours, truly yours, not repeating the words that you've heard another teacher, and not letting another teacher necessarily just speak through you. There are a lot of pressures today as a yoga teacher, our competition and social media and all this other kind of stuff that I don't really think is a negative thing. I think those are all really positive things if we learn to look at it from that perspective. But at the same time, it can be a lot harder to stay within your purpose as a teacher, because you'll look around and you see what's popular, and then you worry that maybe what you're doing isn't going to be popular. So then you end up making yourself smaller, making yourself more acceptable, and really dulling down everything about you that's awesome and that's going to resonate with your students. So finding your purpose, I guess my point with this is that finding your purpose is not something you're going to do once. For me, it is a practice. As much as me as a yoga teacher and me as a student, I have to practice regularly. They are skills. It's not a quality that is inherited within me. My purpose is also a practice that I need to nurture and make sure that I am staying connected and in line with. So just know that, you know, you're not going to have to just do this once and then be fine with it. Like every now and then you need to check in and make sure that you still have the same purpose, because maybe the purpose that I have now today, maybe in 10 years, it's going to be a little bit different. You never know. So you need to be able to like check in with yourself. And you also need to know that you're going to have to hold that mirror up to yourself and be really brutal and just ask yourself, am I honestly living my purpose? And am I honestly teaching my purpose to my students? Do my students even really know who I am? Or am I just putting on a mask and pretending to be the student or the teacher that I think is going to be well received, right? It's hard. Like, it's hard, but it's necessary. Students will have no reason to go to your class versus someone else's class, because it's just all the same, basically.
Right. It's kind of like you're not giving the gift of you. Like,
yeah.
when you're like, oh, I need to be like this. Oh, like for example, like I don't chant in my classes because that's not what I resonate with, but I love going to a class where something like that teacher really resonates with them. Like, yeah, you know, I'm going to sing with you about, you know, Christian and the Gang, the whole thing. I love it, you know, because I feel their vibe and I love that. And for, you know, and yeah, the way that I teach is very different from that. But I actually really love the differences, and I want to support that person for being who they are. And not only that, but as students who come to our classes, they resonate more with our why, and then in the language of our why and the emotional language of why we're doing what we're doing than anything else. I could say I'm a Vinyasa flow teacher. Oh, okay. All right. But like, you know, but you're like, well, yeah, so is 100,000 other people. But like at the same time, the way I present things is probably different from a lot of other Vinyasa flow teachers, and the wording that I say, and like the music that I use, and how things, and the cadence of my classes and stuff. So like, yeah, I tend to attract a certain crowd of people. And it, just as you were saying, Kassandra, when I'm like in that flow and I feel like really good about it, like it feels really great. And one of the most satisfying things as teachers you can do is helping a student navigate what you have already navigated. So like if they're coming to class for the very similar reason why that you originally came to class, and you're helping them cross that bridge, that's where the satisfaction comes. And it's even like in this course right now, both you and I have had to navigate a lot of things as teachers, and it's really exciting helping other teachers skip over some of those steps and take them along this path. So yeah, that's why it's a very satisfying thing to be able to share like this. So from there, we're going to move on to speaking of having specific students come to your class, students that resonate with you. We're going to start to talk about topic number 3, your ideal clients. So your ideal students, like who are those people? And, you know, if they have a similar why as you do, you know, where do you find them? Like, are they in a yoga studio, or are they someplace else? You know, and even if you have a student that you would think is your ideal client, you might think about the hobbies, the characteristics of them, what they do outside of class, and really cater to your classes and everything to your ideal students. So I'll let Kassandra talk about that.
Yeah, so the topic of ideal, I call them an ideal target audience, an ITA for short. This is something that, you know, like I coach a lot of other yoga teachers, and time again, it doesn't matter how much training they have, how much experience they have, how long they've been teaching yoga, like all of that fades away and does not matter if you don't have a clearly defined ideal target audience. And I have very rarely met a teacher who could answer me that question like in a succinct way. Who is your ideal target audience? Who are your ideal clients? And I understand the resistance to define it, because it's the same resistance that I had when I first started. So Just an overview, an ideal target audience is just an intended group of people. It's a predetermined and pre-selected group of people that you have selected and that you have determined and defined. It's not everybody and anybody. It's not whoever happens to stumble into your yoga class. When you are trying to actually make a name for yourself, for example, in the yoga world, and you're trying to create a career that is going to be sustainable, it's never going to happen unless you have a clear, ideal target audience. When you have a clearly defined target audience, competition becomes absolutely irrelevant. So that excuse of there are too many yoga teachers out there, I can't stand out, it just doesn't matter, and it becomes just that, an excuse. When you have a clearly defined niche or a clearly defined ideal target audience, you know that you have a tribe of people who are going to be called towards you. And part of the way that you define your ideal target audience and you attract them towards you is always being anchored into your purpose. That's a huge, huge, huge part of it. But more than that, the problem that I see yoga teachers experience is they have a very difficult time defining their audience because they're worried that if they define it too much, that audience is going to be too small to sustain them as a career. And the opposite is actually true. There's a quote that I repeat over and over every time I train other yoga teachers. When you try to serve everyone, you serve no one. You cannot be everything for everyone. You just absolutely can't. And by stretching yourself out so thin and trying to please everyone, you are completely bypassing your strengths and what makes you unique and what people actually would have really liked and enjoyed in you. You just become this copy of a copy of a copy, and there's then no reason for a student to want to work with you. I know that as teachers, it can be a little bit scary to define that audience because it means that if we're not good for everyone, then that means that probably some people aren't going to like our style. And that can be a really difficult realization to make and a really difficult step to take. But you are not meant to be everyone's teacher. The same way you are not meant to accept every single opportunity that comes your way, you are not meant to take on every single student that comes your way. By taking on a student that does not feel like they match up with your unique strengths and personalities, and by matching with a student that isn't part of your ideal target audience, you are doing a disservice to your other fellow yoga teachers who would have been a match to that student. So when it comes to time to actually, define your target audience so that you can stand out from the crowd, you can build a tribe so that you actually have a community and not customers, right? Like, we want to actually be providing value to people. So we want to stand out, we want to have a community around ourselves, and we want to kind of be known for something that really truly aligns with our purpose and our vision as a yoga teacher. So once you feel like you're ready to step into that seat of knowing that you are going to move away from what's popular and instead turn into what feels true to you, I like to tell people that there are like two strategies that they can take, and you can do both. It's not a one or the other. These are just two techniques that I found work really well. So the first technique that you can use to try to define your audience is to start with what you know. This means if you are already teaching, either publicly, online, doesn't matter. If you're teaching in any capacity, you need to start looking at the people who come to your class, but more importantly, start looking at the people who are your regulars and the people who come and talk to you after class. Like those people who are really engaged. These are the people who, talk to you after class, are constantly asking you questions, email you, respond to your newsletters, reply back. They're the ones that comment on your social media posts. They're the people who are really engaged. Start looking at who those people are and see if you can find a common thread between them. Odds are there's something about them and something about you that makes you a good match. And once you can uncover what that thread is, it's going to be so much easier for you to create offerings that sell out and to create offerings that people really and truly resonate with. So start looking at what you know and look at the people who are already really engaged with you. And then step two is to just ask yourself, what problems am I solving for these people? A big part about defining your ideal target audience is figuring out what general problem, you know, this audience has issue with and why you are the right fit to be providing a solution for them. So you will probably, if you really start to think about it, you might notice that there's a certain topic or a certain type of question that you regularly get asked about over and over and over again. That's like the universe giving you a big flashing sign that there's something there and you need to really tap into it. If you're not already teaching, it's kind of hard to do that technique, right? Like if you just graduated, for example, from your teacher training. So the other thing that you can do is to start from scratch. Assume you don't have a single student and that this is the first time you get to teach a yoga class and you get to decide what you want to be known for. So there's just 3 things. I think, Laura, you call this like building your avatar or your client avatar, and we'll talk about that a little. The way I normally teach it is just in 3 steps. First term is their demographics. How old are they? What's their gender? How much money do they make? Are they married? Are they, you know, divorced, or are they a single parent? Something like that. So really getting into the demographics of what they look like. The second one that you want to look at is personality traits. Personality trait can be a really huge indication to a niche that you need to tap into. So a personality can be they are shy, or they are very outgoing, or they're entrepreneurial, or they suffer from depression or other kind of mental illnesses, right? So you want to get into, ideally, what's their demographics and what's their personality. And then the last key part of that is looking at their lifestyle. So are they caregiving, you know, caregivers for their elderly parents? Are they single parents? Are they college students? Are they world travelers? Are they other kinds of yoga teachers? So if you actually go through and answer those questions and get really focused and really specific on ideally who you would like to call in, it'll then be a lot easier for you to say, like, okay, so what do these people struggle with, and why would I be the best person to help them? How can I be of use to them? And all of a sudden, you now have a bunch of offers and a bunch of themes for your yoga classes, a bunch of workshops, a bunch of retreats, a bunch of trainings that you can now offer that completely sets you apart from everyone else in the game. And all of a sudden, competition is absolutely irrelevant. And oh my God, I've been talking a long time. So I'll take a break. What do you think, Laura? Does that make
I totally agree. I think it's, as you were talking about, like going back to your purpose, having, instead of casting a wide net, casting a narrow net, and also, hello there. And also, yeah, as you were saying, like either thinking of, you know, students that you already have that are coming, who tends to gravitate to you. And I see that a lot. Like there are students that email me, I now have dinner with regularly, this and that, but you know, who we gravitate toward one another. And a lot of my students, even the ones who show up at my retreats, a lot of them have the same underlying thread, you know, and we all have, well, not just, there's a lot of similarities, you know, both from lifestyle or what we're seeking and stuff. And it makes it fun. It makes the whole experience fun. And I've also been in situations where I've almost had exact opposite, where I've almost forced myself to, let's say, have a private client with someone who I can think of, this happened a couple times a long time ago, with someone who was very off from my target audience. And I have to say I did it, but it was like pulling teeth, and it wasn't good. It wasn't a match. And it's much more comforting just focusing on, this is what I have to offer. These are the people who tend to gravitate toward that. And if you're not really sure, as you were saying, like if you're starting off as a new teacher, then go back to your why, go back to your purpose and say, okay, with what I have to offer, who are the types of people who would gravitate toward that? And who are the people who I actually want to work with? You know, so it's just as you were saying.
Yeah, like not relying so much on what's popular, right? Because for a long time, I would only, you know, mostly what I teach is online. So I would do videos that I would see are already popular, you know, like everything I would do, I was doing because I didn't really have a good idea of who my target audience was. And I was a little too insecure. Like I had a scarcity mindset, and I had the mindset that there's not enough to go around. So if I stray too far, to the left or too far to the right, there just won't be enough students for me to make a name for myself or to serve as many people that I would like to serve. So I just did what was popular, and it kind of worked, but at the end of the day, people didn't remember me for me, right? Like they didn't really connect with me that much. And it wasn't until I stopped looking at what's popular and just tuned in and got really clear about what are my strengths? What am I here to do in this world? Like, how can I best serve? And once you're able to really align your offerings with your purpose and with your vision, you're going to call in your tribe. Your tribe's not there yet. You can't see them because you haven't claimed your seat yet. They're waiting for you to own up to your space as a teacher and to really show yourself fully so that they can feel comfortable gravitating toward you. Even if you think yourself as a student, I think every student probably has one or two teachers that they look up to and that they work personally with. Think of the teachers that you really love and admire. Odds are that teacher isn't loved by everyone in the world, right? Like probably not everyone jives with that teacher, but for some reason you do. And the only reason you've been able to find your own teacher is because they have completely allowed themselves to be themselves. And you just need to emulate that, not by copying who they are, but by emulating that you need to embody and respect and honor who you are so that your students who are just waiting for you to show up can actually start to find you.
Definitely. So Kassandra and I have a very big announcement to make. In addition to this free talk, one, you can actually see us in person in various locations, but we are also creating an online course, which I am beyond excited about. And the first section that we'll be talking about is just finding your voice as a teacher and really solidifying that. The second section is finding success as a public teacher. The third section will be find success as an online teacher. And then the fourth section will be about business plans and marketing and branding and how to really solidify your business and get it out there.
Yeah, so exciting. So this is really kind of our vision come to life. So both of us sharing our experiences from these different worlds, putting it together and opening up this space for information sharing in an online format, right? So we really do hope that you guys are going to be wanting to join us, and you'll, have the option to join us for all 4 modules and do them at your own pace, or you might just be interested in one or the other. We'll have all that information coming soon. We're kind of hoping to be launching this course, I don't know, maybe sometime spring, summer. So it's coming up pretty soon. YogaBusinessSecrets.com is where you'll be able to stay up to date and get all the latest information. But really, this is just where we see the next level of being a yoga teacher, and it's all about collaboration over competition, and part of that collaboration is being open to sharing information with your peers instead of just hoarding it together. So it's pretty much like full access to my brain and Laura's brain, and we're just going to tell you everything we know about being a successful yoga teacher, and hopefully you guys will find it really useful. But like Laura mentioned, we are going to be doing a couple fun in-person things. So do you want to mention the San Francisco?
Yeah, so if you're in San Francisco, Sunday, February 19th, we're going to have a more casual session. It's totally free. You can come, you can have tea, you can have a glass of wine, and we'll just answer any questions. We'll really get to know you. So that's going to be super exciting. So that'll be Kassandra and I together, which will be awesome. I'll be teaching in Singapore, and that's going to be also a workshop specifically about this. So if you happen to be in Singapore, that will be March 18th. And then, because I think Kassandra will probably have some goodies coming up as well.
Yeah, I might have some local Ottawa mini workshops and mini information sessions coming up. So I don't have the date, so I don't want to say it now. But if you go to our website that you'll see above, yogabusinesssecrets.com, you'll be able to see, where you can catch us in person, but also more importantly, get the information of when we're ready to launch this full course. And we're covering it all. We're trying to give you as many tools as you can possibly need so that you can feel comfortable choosing the vision and the lifestyle as a yoga teacher that works for you, whether you want to go online or you want to teach in person or you want to do retreats or you just want to learn how to market yourself better. We're hoping that there's really going to be something there for everyone. And yeah, I'm really excited. If you are in San Francisco, definitely join us on the 19th. That'll be a lot of fun, and you can get all the info for that on the website as well. And we are always very much eager to hear from you guys. So let us know what you thought of this training. If you have questions about the PDFs, you have all our contact information, like it's all going to be listed. So feel free to contact us and just let us know what your struggles are as a yoga teacher and really what you would like to see mentioned in the course. We are still building it, so you guys still have an opportunity to help us mold this course in a way that will serve you the best. And I think that's really important. So let us know what your biggest struggles and challenges are as a yoga teacher. And if there's anything that you need help with in terms of this training or filling out the spreadsheet, also let us know. If you know another yoga teacher, if you have yoga teacher friends, definitely send them, the link to this training along. Let's really just move away from competition and move into a space of collaboration and help each other out. One of my favorite mottos that I repeat to myself pretty much every day is a rising tide lifts all boats. So let's just help each other along, and we can all reap the rewards of a successful and rewarding yoga career. And I think that's it.
All right. So thank you all so much. Thank you. And we hope to see you very soon.
Yeah, bye guys. Thanks so much.